And good morning, folks. Let me begin by apologizing for not responding to many of the comments. I don't know if I responded to any of the comments yesterday. Uh, and there were a number of them, although quite honestly, I was surprised. It's the first video in a long time that had, as of this point, fewer than 200 views shown on YouTube. And I thought it was an important video, although it had the word poem in the title, and maybe poetry turns people off, although I thought it was a pretty good poem. Anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm just commenting because yesterday I did a whole bunch of education stuff on the Magna Carta webpage, which is at 1215.org, I believe. I don't have it up on my screen right now. But I listened to a lot more about common law and did a lot of studying about the common law and how to apply it in court situations, since I have two court dates actually facing me next week. And so I'm on that education binge again, trying to learn, and I also spent a great deal of time talking to people on the phone yesterday. I had a few fairly lengthy conversations throughout the day and evening. So I did not get to respond, or I did read the comments, but I didn't get to respond to all of them, and some of them probably required or needed a response, but I didn't do that. Anyway, today, a topic that will probably draw some attention. 2012, will the arrests start happening tomorrow? I imagine that most of you who tune into my videos know that Drake has issued an ultimatum to the U.S. military to commence with the arrests of the cabal. Either they begin by the Summer Solstice or the Pleiadians will do it. That's tomorrow, folks. Will it really start happening then? We talked about that a little bit in one of my conversations yesterday evening with one of my friends from South Carolina. And I simply cannot get real excited anymore about these predictions of the arrests, because I've heard them too many times that it's going to happen, and it didn't happen, or at least it didn't happen sufficiently so that everyone becomes aware that, hey, it's real this time. Now, I want to say that as well, that I do not believe in my heart that the changes that need to happen on this planet to transition us from the state that we've been in for such a long time to a state where we begin to actually work toward peace and rebuilding our societies into literally a global society of cooperation rather than a global society as predicted in 1984. I do believe with all of my heart that that will not happen until the cabal is arrested or transformed in some way. The change in leadership is the essential, not without which, the sine qua non of what needs to happen on this planet to bring peace on Earth. There's no possible way that it can be achieved short of that. These people must, and I repeat, must be brought to some type of divine justice. Can't happen any other way. Cannot. Now, in regard to Drake, there was a time when I read a statement that he allegedly made, although I've had many people deny that he made it, that he would shoot Tim Turner, and I don't even remember how it was, but that really upset me, because I believe with all of my heart that Tim Turner is an honest man of integrity, and he's been working a long time to bring about positive changes and to reestablish the Republic for the United States. And I do believe also that the change to world peace will bring republics to the world, that every nation will become a republic and all people's rights will be honored. Anyway, since that period of tuning Drake out ended, and it ended some time ago for me, I have been listening to what the man says, and I don't always agree with him or Tim Turner or anybody or James, whatever his name is, of who's the Postmaster General. I'm aware of these movements in our culture to bring the changes that are necessary so that people can start having their rights reasserted, which is why I'm studying common law. Common law is all about asserting the rights of the individual. That goes back to the Magna Carta in 1215. And the Magna Carta is still the law of the land, the common law of the land on earth, especially in English-speaking countries. But Drake's ultimatum is interesting. He sounds credible to me, and I want to say that. From the very first time I heard him, before there was any controversy surrounding him, I felt him to be credible. In fact, I thought he must be part of the Republic because it was the same thing the Republic is about. Although I don't believe he has the same idea that some have in the Republic of trying to create a theocracy, which of course I know from emails and stuff with Tim Turner. Tim Turner does not believe that we can have a religious republic. I mean, that is just not the way it can possibly ever be. It's never worked. And he promised that any unconstitutional acts passed by the Republic Congress would not get his signature. And I admire that, and I trust that that's true. But there are these many factions working in the world to bring us to a place where the illegitimate governments are brought down. And folks, whether you realize it or not, the cabal worldwide is an illegitimate government in every nation that it appears. And most nations of the world that fall under the auspices of the International Bank or the World Bank and the Federal Reserve and all of the other state banks, that's the cabal. That's what we're talking about, and that's what needs to be arrested in its game plan. The Bilderbergers, and all of the other G8 and G10 and G5 and all the other meetings of the so-called world leaders that have been plotting for the governments to bring the people to submission and kill the ones that wouldn't submit. And they've built, in the United States, they've built concentration camps, supposedly for the resistors, supposedly for the freedom fighters, the sovereigns, the people that would not kowtow to the desires of these pathological liars and these men and women that want to rule the world. And so when Drake comes on and he says, I have the ability to make sure that this gets put on places in the Pentagon, this ultimatum that the United States needs to get behind this thing, the United States military needs to get behind this thing. I'm absolutely positive that there are many people within the United States military that want to do the right thing. I'll bet you there's a lot of policemen around the country that want to do the right thing. But they're handcuffed in the respect that their bosses, basically, those that they perceive as their bosses, those that they perceive as holding the purse strings, have a different game plan. They want to have tighter and tighter controls on the people. And many intuitively know that this is a violation in the United States of their oath of office, and it's a violation of human rights worldwide. It doesn't even matter if every other country has an oath of office. It's a violation of human rights that is known in the soul. And you have to have a pretty seared conscience not to realize that deep down inside. Now, I don't know how how it is or what's in the heart of every man and woman on this planet, nor could I possibly know, nor would I want to possibly know. But I hope Drake is correct. I sincerely hope he is correct, and that we, the people, and the military and the militia get together and start actually arresting Barack Obama and most of the Senate and most of the House of Representatives and the CEOs of the major banks and the Federal Reserve and the CEOs of most of the multinational corporations and the people, the judges that are the most criminal-minded and in cahoots with the cabal. These are the people that need to be arrested, and the media, the heads of the media that perpetrate and keep perpetuating lies and telling lies to the people and covering up for the cabal and covering up for the government and the moneyed interests. These are the areas in our world that must be addressed. Now, will the ETs, will the Pleiadians or any other ETs actually involve themselves in the arrest? I would hope that it would be a joint effort with the military and militia, that any action taken by the extraterrestrials would be accompanied by an equal action by human beings on the earth that are human. Now, I know that there's an awful lot of human beings, like I think I'm a star seed, and I think there are many others that are star seeds, that we were put here for a purpose. As I've told you before, my parents promised me to God early on in their marriage, or actually even before their marriage. They promised me to God, and I always knew from a little boy, I always knew that I was here for a purpose. And I believe one of my most important purposes is to help awaken people to the reality that the kingdom of heaven is something that we create, that the Christ consciousness within us creates that. Now, of course, when I was a fundamentalist Christian, I didn't know about Christ's consciousness. I put the focus on Jesus. And I'm not saying that Jesus is, some people say that he didn't really exist and that it's just a myth and it's something that that they've doctored and tampered with, and I'm sure they've tampered with some of the record. But I never doubted that Jesus was real in my life. But I've come into this new awareness, as I talked about yesterday, when I started going into Native American spirituality and doing shamanic journeys and sweat lodges and stuff. I became aware of a wider spectrum of spirituality than I had really investigated much before. And since 1993, I have been investigating many world religions and spiritual traditions. And almost all of them believe in angels or believe in beings that are not necessarily humans on this planet. And I absolutely am convinced that yes, the extraterrestrials have been involved in the human family from the beginning, the Pleiadians perhaps more than any other. It is the Pleiadian seed that by far and large dominates human culture and has dominated human culture. Although there's Syrians and there's others that are also involved, Andromedans, etc. As I said in yesterday's video, I welcome intervention by the extraterrestrials. Not the kind of intervention where they take over, but the kind of intervention where they assist. So I hope in my heart of hearts that what Drake has said actually starts happening now. I do believe, if it waited until December 21st, 2012, which I don't believe is going to be a day that's uniquely different than any other day. I believe that the changes by that point in time, the cabal will have been curtailed sufficiently so that we will be able to visibly see that we're working towards establishing the new heaven and the new earth, and a new society on this planet that works in cooperation and harmony with each other. And I believe that's going to happen with Drake and Tim Turner and people in the Republic and the Postmaster General of North America and the other freedom movements and militia movements and all these other movements. And I don't know how it's all going to be woven together, but I would love to see the effect of these eclipses and the Venus transit and the increase in feminine energy on our planet start showing effects of actually bringing the criminality of our world under control. It has to happen, folks. We cannot get where we're going unless and until it begins to happen. So in my heart of hearts, I hope with all of my heart that Drake is correct, that the military listens, and that there is a spirit of cooperation between the armed people in our world for good and the extraterrestrials working to disarm or disempower the weaponry of the elite. Because these are things that must take place in order for us to have the desire of our heart fulfilled. I see I've talked a long time about this, and I trust that you will put your energies and your focus on helping this to happen. I know it's hard to believe that anything good is going to happen when we've heard this for so long, but we must keep the faith and we must keep the focus on bringing these changes that are necessary for the desire of our heart to be met and the flame of freedom to burn even more brightly. I leave you with these thoughts and thank you once again for listening. Namaste. God bless you.